Okay, hello. Welcome to the Distortion Survivor Camp Sunny Skies um Jerry Roundtable. We are here with Jazzy, Vicky, Mac, Missy, and Nick. They are currently, some of them are enjoying ice cream. They were told to bring ice cream, so they will be enjoying ice cream. But I, as y'all love my voice, but my voice is a little tired, so I'm gonna have someone else host this roundtable tonight. So say hello to Sean. This is Sean. This is Sean of our really good friend of Distortion. They host Inferno, which is another Survivor org. So they were very gracious to help us and to do this for us tonight. So yeah, with that, have fun, Sean.
Oh, I died there. All right. Hello, jury. It's nice to meet everyone. So before we get into our discussion, I do have some ground rules on behalf of production. Obviously, this is just a game. Just a reminder that the finalists are human beings. They also have emotions and feelings. So tonight we're obviously going to discuss Pete and Gianna's gameplay. So strictly when debating and discussing, their moves and their game, strictly make it about the game. Uh, I know each elimination had been hurtful and can leave a sour taste in our mouths. So let's refrain from, attacking, personal attacks, and nothing derogatory, anything like that. Keep it strictly gameplay and how they, maneuvered themselves to the final two.
Slay.
Okay, so I said that already. Okay, so everyone here.
In that case, I have nothing to say. No, I'm just kidding.
And obviously there is a Zoom feature at the bottom of your screen. If you're on the phone, obviously it might be at the bottom corner. The raise hand feature, I strongly recommend for y'all to use that when it comes to discussion, so y'all don't talk over each other, choke on your ice creams, and so it's easy and organized. Lastly, once again, this is an org. We're here to have fun. Okay. And with that being said, once again, welcome to the roundtable. So we're going to start off, with the basics: outwit, outplay, outlast. We're going to start with outwit. How did Pete outwit the game? And Nick, you can start us off.
I just wanted to start because I'm driving and I won't be able to use the raise hand feature unless I have it preloaded on my phone. So I think that Pete was really good at talking shit to the right people about the right people. I also think that that's a flaw in his game, but I'll get to that later on. He was really good at making people feel good by being not the nicest to other people, which is a strategy that I've used in the past. So props to him for that. It's a strategy that I think some of us on this call have definitely used in the past. And I think that's great for him.
Anyone else? Mac?
Hello. Going off of what Nick had said, I remember one time in the pre-merge, Pete had talked to me and they were like, "Oh, I just want to let you know that I had called certain other people who I wasn't really close to, and was kind of throwing me under the bus a little bit, and now apologizing to me." And I'm like, "Oh, so you're trying to play the middle right now? Okay, I see how what you're doing." I feel like I think Pete's game in terms of outwit was being in a good spot most of the game, but not being the one in control until the very end. I think that is how Pete outwit the game, in my opinion, from my perspective.
All right, Vicky.
Going off of what Max said a bit, I think Pete did not show his hand until he absolutely had to, because I think Pete, since the beginning, had always been in a spot where he never felt comfortable with where he was. And he was able to talk to a lot of people and really build those relationships. For example, I think him and Gianna have had like the conversations open the entire time. And like he wasn't only, or like from my perspective of the game, he wasn't only playing with the people that at least he told me that he was playing with. He was like very open with everybody at the same time. And I even told him once, like one time that we were on call, I told him like, I think you're a really good middle player and that you work well playing the middle and being good with everybody. And it wasn't until he had to win, because he knew that he would have been on the bottom. So he won the challenges that he needed to win to be able to move and be where he is at right now. Yeah.
Can I rebuttal that really quickly?
Go ahead.
Mute.
I think
I
Nick.
just wanted to say that aren't I? Am I better? Oh my gosh, no, I just froze again. Is it better now? Oh my
I can
goodness.
hear you.
This is a mess. I can hear you guys, I think. Kind of.
I can hear you.
I can hear you.
Oh, you can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, it just was like freezing on my screen. I was freaking out. I don't think that Pete was playing this entire game with Gianna, because Gianna was taking me to the end because she wanted 2 black people in the end. I think that he only played with people when he absolutely had to, which is why at the final 6 he was shitting on Mac, and then at the final 5 realized that he had to work with Mac to get further in the game, and even at that point still voted against what Mac wanted. And the only time he really like decided to work with Mac was when I didn't talk to him at Final 4. And so I don't think it was that he was working with so many people. I think he was pushed into a corner and played accordingly. And there was something, what was the last thing that you said, Vicky?
That he had to win what he had to get where he was, I think.
I won't, like, I don't not that I don't respect his game, I just don't think it stacks up to anybody that has been on the jury and anybody who is left in that game.
Right. I think Mac raised his hand.
It's very short. I think it's a little bit of like sometimes things would not go his way. Like I'm pretty sure Pete didn't want Vicky going at 7. I'm pretty sure Pete didn't want Jezzy going at 5. So I feel like Pete kind of lost good numbers for his game, and he kind of had to like adjust accordingly.
All right, Vicky.
I think he knew that I was going at 7. So Pete gave me his rock. And he, like 20 minutes before tribal, I was on call with Nick, and Pete went, "Hey, can you give me my rock back? I don't want to, like, I want to."
No, he didn't know. He didn't know you were going. I told him to get the rock back so he could play it on me in case Travis had an idol.
But still, timing was a little suspicioso. And if he was, if theory stands and he was close with Gianna, Gianna probably told him. Because he didn't throw a vote like consciously, like the Travis. Yes, I'm sorry. I'm really bad with names. But like he didn't consciously throw that vote to Travis instead of Braden. I was gonna call him Brandon. Instead to yeah. But it could have been a decision made. Okay, you know what? I'm just gonna shut up and eat my ice cream. Thank you.
All right, Esteban, and then we're gonna move on to Gianna.
Right. Yeah, I just want to share my objective as an outside of the game. And I mean, outside of these people's idea and outside of their soul alliance. I mean, I like what Mac said a while ago. Like, which one you want to go first? Those who don't know what's going to happen, but he did try, or to those, or to the person who really don't do anything at all in this game. That's just my thought. Like Pete on the before on Melissa's vote told me like on 5 minutes before that, like I know that I am in, at the bottom, I know that I am the vote, but I would like to pitch something from you. So he had tried to play the game even if all those things or most of the votes are not with him. At least he played the game. But there is one who really don't play the game, and if you ask her, he will say, I don't know what's going on, even though that she's not doing anything. I mean, maybe she's really not, they don't know anything at all. So like me, on the side of not being on the Soul Alliance and those flipping and things that is happening, my thought is maybe truly Pete out with me than Gianna does. So just giving you a thought about that.
One thing I do want to say is like I'm getting really sick and tired of this whole Gianna didn't play the game bullshit. And that's for everyone who's saying it, because every single one of us, barring Esteban on this call, have put Gianna in a corner in one way or another to where she kind of was forced to play the way that she played. We all lied to her on multiple occasions of what was going to be happening. We all lied to her and told her that one thing was happening when another thing was happening. And even at the final 6, she decided to trust me to vote Jazzy out. At the final 5, she voted Travis out to keep me in this game. At the final 4, she tied it to make sure that Mac or me would go home. And at the final 3, she convinced Pete to keep her in the game. So like this whole like Gianna isn't actually playing the game needs to stop, because she is. And was she the best player? Was she the best player? Absolutely not. But like she played the game.
I respect you with that, Nick. But again, as you said, I am an exclusion of that. So I can say that she's not playing a game because she did not talk games with me. So I can say that I respect your view, and I will just stand to what I do think of how she played a game.
Can I say something? I can't find the hand raising app thing, y'all. I'm sorry. Can I talk for a second? Is that okay?
Go ahead.
I just want to say, like, ultimately, like, I do feel like, yeah, like, okay, so at first I thought that Gianna had lied a lot more than it turns out she really did. And it turns out she was actually lied to a lot, yes. But I've also got to give her this, like, she played a pretty, like, a lot more of a straightforward game than I feel like Pete played. And so just in my opinion, like, ultimately, I do feel like somebody who plays a more like straightforward game, she still played, she made it to the end and we didn't. So she did something right. She aligned herself with somebody that like helped her get to the end for whatever the reasons are. She's at the end. And I do feel like, she did that and still managed to not bullshit quite as much as Pete did. And so I have to acknowledge that and say that, like, that's what I'm looking for when I'm looking for a winner. This has very much felt like a villain season for the most part. And so, like, I would love to vote for somebody who maybe wasn't as much of a villain as I thought they were. So I'm just going to say that.
And to add to that, I think that a lot of us here feel as though like a little bit irritated at the fact that she's even there because we like I feel the majority of us feel that we deserve to be there over her. But like at the end of the day, we're not there. And at the end of the day, she outplayed all of us.
People
She outlasted all of us.
underestimated her.
100%. She was safe 0 rounds of that merge, other than when Pete, the HOH week when Pete didn't nominate her. 0 of those rounds was she safe, and nobody ever voted for her, not once.
Yeah, so even
The
if somebody's
only
not
person there
necessarily
with
doing a
0
comp
votes.
win, yeah, like a social game is still just as important as like a comp beast, I think, as well. So sorry, I'm not trying to talk over you, Nick. I apologize. I'm just agreeing with what you're saying.
Oh no, you're good. I just like one thing that I've seen, and trust and believe, I feel that. I feel like neither of the two deserve to be there over me. I feel like I understand that, but I can also in the same breath say that like they outplayed me, they outsmarted me, they outwitted me, they outlasted me, like whatever. They beat me to get there. And so putting my feelings about whether or not they should be there in the end or not aside, you have to look at like Pete's game versus Gianna's game. And in my mind, Gianna, like Missy said, played a way more straightforward game, was a lot more honest, wasn't as like cruel in her game. And I just think that I like we'll get into what I'm thinking either when it's that time or when I have to go. But I just want y'all to sit on that for a minute. Take your prejudices of the two aside, whether you're prejudiced towards Pete for being in the end or prejudiced towards Gianna for being in the end. Stop thinking about like how annoyed you are that they're there and look at their games.
Right. Well, moving forward, let's talk about how Pete outplayed. Anyone can start. Vicky.
As I've mentioned before, Pete won the necessary comps that he needed to win. He almost tied it was 1 away from tying with Mac for the most wins this season. I wouldn't say he's a comp beast because he probably isn't, but he did everything that was necessary to keep himself safe. Even though, yes, the bottoms helped, he was able to obtain an advantage, and he was able to get that advantage. With the rock, that was until final 7. It was like an idol, but if you played it correctly, it would have gone to everybody else would have gone to rocks. Like he was able to obtain that. Yeah, he just did the necessary. He just did what he had to do to be sitting where he is now. Nobody helped him, if that makes sense.
All right, Mac.
In terms of outplay, one thing I tried to do was to get Pete out, and I had an idea that I then decided not to go for at 8, final 8. At final 7, I'm like, you know, I can see that Pete's good with Jazzy and Nick and Vicky, and like if Pete went, that would be good. But Pete was able to get the votes not onto him. Pete was able to like secure that he would not be going that round. I think that I would describe his game as like playing the middle and having some meat shields and kind of rubbing some people the wrong way at times, but also like kind of being villainous, we needed to, because then people have the perception of Pete as like, oh, this person is like not gonna win if we take them because they have rubbed juries the wrong way. And like one thing we like to think about is jury management. So I think that's something to definitely consider.
Anyone else? All right. If not, we'll talk about Gianna. How did Gianna outplayed?
Oh, can I go first? Gianna single-handedly with her vote took out Jazzy, Matt, and Travis this game. Arguably 3 of the biggest players in this game. Jazz, I think, not leaving at 6 puts her in the final 2. And people can say yes or no, shake their head yes or no to that, but Jazzy is a force to be reckoned with in this game and had positioned herself perfectly. And if it wasn't for Gianna helping Travis and Mike, like, Jazzy would have made it a lot farther in that. At Final 5, a tie between me and Travis, arguably 2 of the biggest players in that season, or in this game. Two people who, if they made it to the end, were 100% winning, and she decided to vote out Travis. She was the reason that Mac left, somebody who won every fucking immunity under the fucking belt, including a POV, who would have smoked that trivia challenge because he had all of my notes, and took him out by letting me go to fire and take him out. She then at final 3 knew I was taking her, and then told Pete that she has to take him. Made a final 2 with Pete the round before. I think if anybody's outplaying anybody, it's Gianna. Gianna always made sure her ducks were in a row. Even at final 3, she had 2 final 2s with 2 separate people and made sure that she wasn't the one winning. Because like Richard Hatch said, you both have to take me to the end. And I think that she put herself in that position with her vote. Gianna did see sometimes, she may seem like she doesn't know what's going on half the time, but I promise you that girl is intelligent. She knows what she's doing.
May I say something? I really appreciate Nick of letting us know those things because I really don't know. I really, really hope that Gianna will own all those things on this final tribal council, because if not, definitely she didn't know that she did big things on her on her game. And I thank you for that, for letting us know.
Anyone else want to touch up on Gianna and how she outplayed? Mac? Vicky? Yeah, Vicky.
Go, Mac.
Oh, I'm just gonna say very quickly, in terms of outplay, I feel like she was, left out of votes for strategic purposes, at the start of the merge and at different points pre-merge. And I think with that, everyone from, I would say after Missy left, I would say everyone was kind of like, oh, there's absolutely no way that Gigi would. I feel like everyone put the perception that Gigi was like the sheep of the season because of how like left out of votes. So I think she kind of like used that to her advantage, because though people on this call and people in the jury and the Ponderosa might have like made moves and done all that, we're still, we're here, and Gigi's there and Pete's there, but Gigi's there. So I feel like there's definitely something to do with that. I think something that Esteban was saying just before, what she says in her final tribal council is going to matter a lot. What she wants to say she's done, what what she says is gonna have a lot of weight.
Vicky, if you have any rules.
I just want to hear her say, because like from somebody, yeah, she was out of votes, but I never personally lied to Gianna. And I think what is, yes, she is she is final two, and that's amazing. She did what she had to with never winning any immunity ever. She was never safe in any position. Yeah, a lot of people lied to her, and she was able to get there because, as I mentioned pre-merge, Gianna was going to get to final six. If we didn't take Gianna out before merge, she was going to get to final six, and nobody would want to take her out because she would have stronger players in front of her. And that is what happened, and that is great for her game, and we can all say that she did that. She put herself in a strategic position where she had way more stronger players that everybody knew that were going to win, and everybody thought that Gianna would just be a sitting duck basically and be like, oh, Gianna would never win. So in terms of her gameplay, yeah, that was absolutely amazing of her. My thing is, and this isn't so much personal as it's more a gameplay move. I respect people more that are going to tell me to my face, hey, I'm voting you out. And I know that in Survivor, that is not something you do, and that is not something you look forward to at all. But it's the fact that I told Gianna 2 times where I was voting and why I was voting for them. And both times she lied to my face and told me I'm going to vote for them too. And both times she wrote my name down. That's my hang up with Gianna. That is my personal thing. And yeah, everybody else lied to her and didn't tell her where they were voting and didn't do anything. I kept a very open communication with Gianna with what I had to do and why I was doing the moves that I was doing. And like, I just told her. And I think that's like gameplay wise for me, is that really good social game? Like, yeah, she voted me out. I'm done over. She did what she had to do, and as she said, she needed to take out the person that she thought that would ruin her game in the end, and she thought that was me. But for me, everybody else lied, and I was able to like be open and honest with her, and that just did not reciprocate. And yeah, I guess I'm still a little bitter, but it's more so of the fact that like I sat down with her, I had a conversation, I had a call with her. And yeah.
Mac?
Kind of similar, not as much, but just reminded me. Final Four had a call GG. GG's like, I think it's best for my game to get rid of Nick, blah blah blah. Then like an hour before tribal, we call again, and I'm like, hey, if you're gonna vote me, just let me know. And she's like, no, I'm doing Nick. Like, I'm pretty sure both me and P are both voting Nick. I'm like, okay, so
I can explain that.
okay.
That is because 20 minutes before tribal, Pete called me and said, Nick, Gianna, and Peter voting you, or Gianna and I are voting you out. And I just wanted to be upfront with you. And I spent about 5 minutes trying to get him not to and budging, and said, all right, I'm hanging up this call because I'm going to go call Gianna. And about not even 10 minutes before tribal, I sat on call with Gianna pleading for her to save me. Convinced her that if you made final 3, you were winning final immunity, which I still believe if you made, you would have won final immunity. And you were going to take Pete to the end, which I still believe you would have taken Pete to the end, because I know that you would have beaten Pete. And it looks a lot better on you to take Pete than it does to take Gianna. And so she kind of did the math in her head and realized that if I'm in the final three, she has a one-way ticket to the final two. If you're in the final three, she has to rely on Pete to win. And so it just makes more sense for her to vote you out there. And I don't think it was like, I can't speak for Gianna, but I truly don't believe that like she like got on call with you an hour before tribal and lied to your face. I think that in that moment she was voting for you, because Pete got on call very confident that she was voting for me. And I had not talked to Gianna before then, so I didn't know who she was voting for. I had assumed she was voting to keep me, and that Pete was voting to keep me because Pete had given me his word. Another thing he's lied about to me in this game. And it was I genuinely think it was a last second thing. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
When I was at the final four, the first call of the two, I said to her multiple times, I'm like, hey, if I survive this vote and I win final three, I'm gonna bring you to the end, and I'm not gonna, and if I vote you out, you can vote Pete at the end. That's completely fine, because I lied about that. Like, I want to like prove my loyalty and all that. Which is why when I got fourth, I said to Gigi, when I told you when I wanted a final two with you, that was genuine, and how I felt like you, Nick, had manipulated Gigi.
Nick.
I will say, I think the nail in the coffin was you playing the idol on Pete the round prior. I think that just sketched her out to the point where she wasn't willing to vote for anybody but you at that point, because she wasn't willing to go to three with two people that she couldn't beat in a comp and have potentially neither of them choose her. Do I think Pete would have taken her regardless if it was you or me? Absolutely. But I think that you had a better chance of winning this comp than me, and she knew that.
All right, let's move on to Outlast. I know you guys like talked about it much, but how did Pete outlast in this game?
Like a snake. He was really snake-like. Cut people when he needed to. Did exactly what he needed to. He would be very kind to you one minute, very cold to you the second he knew he was voting you out. And sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes you don't.
All right, Jazzy.
Okay, I think how Pete outlasted was he kind of got he came to the two people, me and Hearn, who were kind of more on the fence about things, and got us on his side to kind of flip the vote on Missy that first round. I think that was the key to getting him as far as he did, was getting those key votes that were kind of wavering. And I think that's part of how he outlasted. I mean, two of us, we bonded very quickly and created a final two very early on in the merge. So like I think that was a huge part of his pathway to outlasting.
Mac.
This goes for both of them. I think in terms of outwit, outlast, outplay, they both succeeded. Like, the thing they're strongest at was the outlast, because both of them were able to always have someone higher up as like the bigger threat. At Final Five, it was Nick and Trav. At Final Four, it was Nick and I. At Final Three, it was Nick. So I think both of them were very they were able to kind of have that outlast, because like having like meat shields and people who were perceived as bigger threats is how ultimately the two of them are now sitting at the final two.
I would agree to that. Like based on statistics too, one has probably the most number of votes against them, and one has 0 votes, which is really amazing.
Only if you
So-
count nullified votes, because Travis technically has more if they're not nullified.
Say,
Gigi got 1 vote.
oh, got 1 vote. I mean, the least, I guess.
Only
We
one,
got
but
the
like
least.
still,
Yeah.
yeah.
So like, I mean, both of them got, I mean, being a camouflage on this game. Maybe one is a snake and one is a turtle hiding. So it's really a very different kind of game, which I really respect. And I mean, at first I will like everyone who was pretty sure have their own bitter taste of, you know, of what they did. But yeah, I do respect of what they played. Again, I mean, when I said that Gigi didn't play at all, it's like it's on my own perspective of how we talk. It is not on the others, like about Vicky, Mac, or Nick. It is on my side where we haven't talked. I just want to clear that out because, like, I don't want also to discredit, Gigi to what she played with you guys. So that is on my own perspective.
Vicky.
So, I think both of them, Pete and Gigi, knew very early on that they were at the bottom a lot. Pete, like going into merge, was really scared that Brian, yes, no, Brayden, yes. At least I didn't call them Brandon. I need to stop.
Girl, yeah, you just talked about
I
doing
literally
that the other day.
It's so bad. I am so sorry. This is my public apology to Brayden for never being able to remember their name. I'm very sorry. Anyways, but since merge, Pete always knew that Brayden had a target on his back. And then Gigi was left out of votes, was not in the loop of a lot of things, and she just had to survive until until she got there. So both of them, I think they knew that if they didn't go into the finals together, their game would not be heard at all. Let's take him to perspective. If Pete would have gone against Nick, Pete's game horrible. Nick had a freaking amazing game. If Gianna would have gone against Nick, Nick would not be here right now telling us everything that Gianna has done or anything. So our perspective would have been very skewed. And it's the same thing if they went up against Mac, if they went up against Travis, if they went up against anybody, they would not have the opportunity to say their game. So I think in like outlasting, they knew they had to outlast together because if not, they would not have a chance to explain what they've done. Thank you. Again, I am sorry, Brayden. Thank you.
Mac.
Kind of a little bit of what Vicky was saying. People wanted to keep both Pete and Brayden in this game so they would go after each other, and that definitely helped Pete's game, because if you have someone you're publicly targeting, why would people want to like take one of them out when you can use that to hide under Pete and Brayden? And I feel like Pete has been, I think Pete's like done a very good job of survival, like being targeted a lot, and being able to survive at the end and winning those comps. I think it's a good, like, maybe I wasn't in the best spot at times, but I was able to win my way to the end. And there were times where I could have left at 5. There were times where I could have left at 7, 8. Even earlier with wasn't Pete getting votes at the first merge vote? Also,
Yeah.
Pete was targeted once pre-merge. So like Pete's been through the ringer, and Pete's been able to survive all of that, which is like pretty amazing, to be honest.
All right. We're going to segue into Gianna and how she outlasted. I know you guys mentioned it, but if anyone else want to add on, if not, we'll move on. No?
Sorry, just one last thing to say. 0 times safe in the merge, 0 votes to remain in the merge.
Yeah, I feel like I know I've already said it, but I do feel like she did play a good social game. No, she wasn't completely fully honest in the game, but realistically in these games, nobody can be. I do still feel like, I mean, she made connections with people. She is still there, and she did it while, I mean, honestly, bullshitting the least. I know I've said it before, but I need to emphasize that she was a strong social player. And the thing is, she's really sweet. People underestimate the shit out of her. People think she's going to be like an early boot, or that they can pawn her, like use her as a pawn or something like that. But ultimately, like, yeah, she did make 2 separate final 2s apparently. Um, a lot of people felt comfortable with her. Nobody really thought she was a threat, and there she is sitting at the end. And also, I don't think it's fair, because like, I know sometimes people take someone to the end just because they think they're an easy beat, but I don't necessarily think that's an easy beat, because once again, that is somebody underestimating her, and she played a damn good game. So sorry, I know I repeated myself a lot, but I'm a mess. So
I will also say that when you look at I want to go back on what Missy said about Gianna being a very kind person. I'm not saying that Pete is not a kind person, but I'm saying if you look at the way that Pete treated people in this game, not the hazard ahead, sorry. If you look at the way Pete has gotten to the end, like in terms of how he has treated people, and the way Gianna has got to the end and how she's treated people, it is night and day.
actually, if you don't mind me interjecting really quick, I actually have something I do want to say on that. And I don't know if I'm allowed to bring this up, but something y'all might not know, and I did not find out about this until recently, but Olive from the opposite tribe, from Luna tribe, that's my in real life friend. And we waited to talk about things until I was already out of the game and such. But Pete and Olive were sent to sleepaway camp together. Pete told us about how Olive had wrote all of this stuff blasting him. What we were not told is that because Pete responded, was pretty upset, which I will say, my friend, I don't know what she was feeling in that moment to be abrasive, but Pete got upset, got defensive. She left that sleepaway camp chat, and he wrote a personal message to her, cross chat, going ballistic on her, which is not even like, that's still going against the rules. It was out of sleepaway camp, and B, it was also very unkind. She was not necessarily being kind either, but she removed herself from that situation, and he continued to go off on her. And so that also, I think, speaks volumes about just the situation and how they handled themselves. I don't know if I'm allowed to speak on that, but it did happen. And that does, like, I do find that a little bit off-putting, if I'm being quite honest.
I mean, there are multiple instances in this game where Pete has said some very off remarks about other players in this game. That if anybody here wants to talk about, they can. But at the end of the day, my point was Gianna never did any of that to any of us, and Pete did.
Yeah. I do think like kindness matters, and I think like, okay, it's just, if that's who you're being as a person. And also, it is a smart game move. It's really hard to vote somebody out when you like them a lot, when you just genuinely think they're a great person. And so like, I think that just her sweet demeanor and stuff like that, I think she definitely uses that to her advantage. She's not stupid. And I definitely think that helps her outlast. That's the one we're on right now, right? Outlast. I definitely think it helps her outlast. She's sweet. People underestimate her. She's kind. It's hard to vote out somebody when they're kind.
Mac, and then we're going to transition to our next topic.
Okay, very quickly, what Nick was saying about how Pete was not the nicest to certain players. I am one of those people that Pete was not the nicest to. I am going to say that it was all game related. After Jazzy left, I feel like Pete was quite insecure about how they felt position wise in this game. And when I wanted to try work with them and have like a extended olive branch to see if we could help, because I found out about like a Nick Trav GG3, I'm like, okay, I need to get Pete on my side and we need to try like see if we can figure something out. Pete was basically just like, oh, your game's horrible, it's really bad, you like, I don't care if I go home as long as you don't make finale, and I'm not going to vote you to win, and calling me, comparing me to people who made it to the end and got like 0 votes, and be like, oh, you're Dean from Island of the Idols. I'm like, I know you're upset, but you don't need to put me down to make yourself feel better. And this is a game, and this is just all pretend. Be respectful of your peers. People do get snaked. It sucks and it's horrible, but this is also what we signed up for, and only one person can win this game. So please keep that in mind.
And that's one thing that bothers me, because at Final Five, he also laughed at me when I was pleading for his vote and said that I'm stupid for asking him for it. And I just don't want to reward that kind of behavior.
Yeah, that's really not nice. I did not know that, and I don't really like to hear that somebody treats somebody like that. That was not stupid of you to ask for his vote. That was you playing your game, and I'm sorry that happened to you.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear all this too. Like, definitely didn't see any of this. So,
All right, let's move forward. Let's talk about game moves. What in Pete's game, what would you say is Pete's best move? Anyone can start. Mac.
Taking me out, but I won't give him that.
I want to say that I think Pete did a pretty good job of setting themselves up in the pre-merge. Were they targeted at times? Yes. But I felt like in terms of the one-on-one connections, I knew that Pete was good with Vicky, Pete was good with me, Nick, Adam, and that's just of who I know of. And like, Pete was able to really have those kind of bonds, which helped in the merge phase. So I feel like in terms of a best move, it's not like the big flashy, like, oh, here's an idol and here's all this like crazy gameplay. It's more of the very subtle moves that propelled him and put him into a position to where he could thrive a lot better at the merge phase.
Yeah, I really like so intrigued on that way how Pitt did that one, because like for example from the first merge vote with Missy and Pitt, like if you really don't like this person, I mean, I thought it will be an easy vote for Pitt, like especially you guys, like if you are really not connecting to Pitt based on what you were saying all right now, it will be an easy vote. But then maybe that is the good, I mean the best play for him, like he is not like the most loved player of this season, but then also he would be able to have like a, connect to you eye to eye, because I was really intrigued. Like I never heard these things that Pete did, because he never let me feel like awful. He never told me any nasty things. So I'm so sorry that I haven't seen that kind of Pit that you were saying, but I respect and I duly noted all the things that he did, especially to Oli, because Oli is like one of my best like no buddies when we were the pre-merge. So it was really kind of nasty. But that's where I am so intrigued of how the magic works. Like even if people really hate him, still he was able to, to claw himself to the finale.
I also want to just echo off Esteban. I did not see that bad side to Pete as well. Like we did work together, but I never really saw the bad sides. Again, I feel sorry for anybody who went through that and do not condone anything like that. But like I think, yeah, as far as like you said, game wise, he kind of was able to kind of overcome that.
Vicky,
I
then Matt.
think the biggest difference in oh, sorry, you guys go first.
I feel like I came in here and everybody's gonna think that I'm defending Pete, just based off of how I'm talking and how I'm talking about his game and everything. I never had those interactions with Pete for the simple fact that I was never a blimp in Pete's gameplay. I was never a threat to him, and I was never somebody that he had to look out for. So I'm sorry, I kind of knew about the Ollie situation and everything that was going on. So like it's really hard. I just want to say that yeah, Pete, no, that's just gonna sound sorry. But like yeah, Pete is not the nicest when he feels like he's back to a corner, or even when he doesn't feel like he's back to a corner and he just wants to be a mean person. Yeah, Pete comes off brazen, and honestly, like this is a game setting and I want to see how his game went up. And yeah, wait, where are we on? Are we outlasted or like his biggest moves? Sorry, I'm like refocusing myself. Like Matt said, he did put himself good with the people that he needed to be good with. Like I never had a problem with Pete, and that's just because I was never in Pete's radar. And a lot of people did not have a problem with Pete because they were never on Pete's radar. So yeah, he strategically put himself in positions that, and I also think that the Hearn vote was good for him. Like being able to pin not only dang it, Brayden.
Kind of like pin it on me or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, like the Hearn vote, he could pin it on Mac and on Nick because I think everybody left with a bad taste in their mouth on that Big Brother when Nick and Mac were the only two people to do with the veto vote, and that just like didn't sit right with a lot of people. And then when he renommed Hearn, like everybody was like, oh, we're just gonna do Hearn, I guess. So he could pin it on that, and then it would still be the duo with Brayden and him because he still put Brayden up on the block. So I think that was one good move that he did. Did he do it alone? No. But was he the one to do it? And was he the one to be like, I want to renom this person? Yes. Yeah, but he strategically put himself in good positions where he knew what was going on in each time, and he knew how everybody was moving at what time. And again, I'm not defending Pete. His actions, honestly, in this game does not sit right with me. I don't like how he treated people, and I don't want to excuse him for absolutely anything. Gameplay wise, was it the best? Did he do good moves? Yes.
Mac, then Nick.
Okay. I also want to say that I am going into this roundtable I want to highlight both of their games because, like, obviously some of you were eliminated a lot earlier than myself and Nick. So, like, we have a lot of perspective on things when other people can't. I am not the biggest fan of Pete's behavior at times. I think sometimes it came from a place of, I don't know. I did not. Yeah. Anyway, I want to say that at final 5, because of people voting for Pete and that I was able to use the idol on Pete, and then I was able to explain to Pete, I'm like, here, this is why this is why that vote happened the way it did. I think Pete kind of knew that the bond with Nick had lost a lot of trust in that vote, and also with Jazzy going to where Pete's like, okay, Nick has been in control a lot. Though I don't want Mac here, I don't think, like Pete even said at Final Four, I don't want, like, I want Mac out next, but it's like Nick is the threat to win. I think Nick would have beat anyone, including me at the end. I'll own up to that. And it takes a lot from someone to go from Pete saying to me, you have no chance to win, to then be like, though we don't have a great working relationship, I do realize that I will need to be working with Mac to take out Nick, and then to hopefully win Final 3 and take out me, and then blah blah blah. If Nick were able to go at 4, I think that would have a lot more, it'd be a lot more showy, I guess, because like Pete was successful in that, but because I went home, it wasn't successful. But at least Pete kind of knew at the end game, like what they needed to do and what path they needed to take. So I do want to like give props on that. Also Hernvo, I think that was good as well. And yeah, there were also things he was a part of, but not like the one kind of making the thing. He would have some input. I'm pretty sure Pete told me about the whole like, oh, we've got Jazzy and Hearn, and that we're gonna make Gigi vote Brayden. That way, Brayden will, if Brayden has the idol, they use it on themselves. They lose a vote, and Missy will be blindsided, so that our little group will have the numbers, and we'll have Jazzy and Hearn like there as well. So like, Pete was trying.
Oh no no
Sometimes
no
it
no no
was.
no 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 no. That is not what happened. But I will explain once it's my turn.
I'm pretty much done, so you can go ahead.
Okay, first and foremost, for the people that didn't see that side of Pete, that was because, like Vicky said, like Max said, he either needed you at that point and couldn't speak like that to you, or you were disposable enough to him to where he's not there. Like he didn't care enough to talk to. Because the people that he did care to talk to and that he couldn't just dispose of, that he didn't like, he definitely spoke his mind to. He told me at the final 30 minutes before we muted, I knew what you need to change. I said, why? And this was before just need to have enough. And he had my only issues I've already taken those treatment. But Ashton,
Nick, you're breaking up a lot. Hardcore.
that's
We're just gonna have to make Nick repeat everything, huh?
Can you hear
We
me?
really are. No,
Okay,
you're breaking up.
Nick, you were in your. Oh,
Oh.
okay. Infomercial.
Today is sponsored by Apple. I'm joking.
It's sponsored by ice cream.
Today is sponsored by ice cream. I finished my ice cream.
I still have some. I have Ben and Jerry's non-dairy chocolate fudge brownie
I
made
have
without milk.
I have names that I cannot pronounce. I have coffee. Thank you. We're back.
We're back.
Am I good? Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes,
we can hear
you.
you.
What was the last thing I said?
We
That you
couldn't
heard?
hear anything.
We didn't hear anything. You
You
were
have to
cutting
repeat.
out.
Why?
Didn't hear anything at all, Nick. Sorry.
Okay, so as Vicky and Max said, he didn't like say those things to you guys because he either A, needed you, B, was on top and found you disposable and didn't care about you enough, or C, well, I guess it's just one of those two. He needed you, or he thought you were disposable enough not to even talk to you in any nature other than trying to make sure that you're calm. For the people that did, it was rough. At final 3, he had told me, I'm scared to take Gianna because I've already taken a goat to the end and I lost to a goat. And I said, Pete, on everything I love, if you take Gianna, I told him straight up, I said, you're losing this game regardless. If you take Gianna over me, I'll make sure you lose to her. Because number one, I love Aston, I love Gianna. I do think that there are goats in this game, but I do think that both Pete and Gianna played certain styles that could seem goat-like, but were not. And it irks me that somebody who is, in my eyes, played the same level of gameplay as Gianna, calling her a goat. That just irritates the fuck out of me. On top of like Gianna saying nothing bad about anybody in this game to me this entire game. That fucking connection drop fucked me up. Mac, what were you talking about? What did I say I was going to explain? And another thing about both of them. I think this applies to both of them because I don't think Pete had that much power in the end game, and Gianna didn't have that much power at the beginning of this merge. A lot of this merge was ran by me and Mac. A lot of this, and Vicky. I will give Vicky her flowers too. At the early merge, 99% of the votes were because of me and Mac. I was the first. They wanted to take out, like, Vicky, Mac, and Pete were talking about taking Jazzy out. And I said, no, Jazzy's voting with us. We're voting for Missy because she's close to Brayden. And then we all agreed on Esteban. And then before the Esteban vote, because we knew it was a live night, I was the one that went to Pete and...
But why?
Huh?
But why me? Just kidding.
I was the one that went to Vicky and Pete, and I was the one that told them that Hearn was targeting Vicky, and I was the one that got them to vote out, or to put up Hearn. And Pete, even up to the point where veto had already happened, was trying to convince Mac not to play the veto, but Mac and I had already decided that Hearn had to leave. And so that irks the fuck out of me. I think that at final 7, even Mac and Jazzy, I feel, were the biggest masterminds behind Vicky's vote out. And then we flip it. Me and Travis were really me. I was the mastermind behind Jazzy's vote out. Gianna was the reason that Pete went home, or that Travis went home. Gianna was the reason that Mac went home. And so realistically, the only thing that Pete has done by himself in this game is vote me out. And I will not count that win for him. You all know why. So when you want, like, we're talking about strategy, we're talking about what people have done to win the game. In my eyes, Pete has done absolutely nothing to win this game because he's rode off of the backs of people who were smarter than him and outplayed, or were just smarter strategically than him. Where Gianna at least had a mind of her own to get rid of Travis, to get rid of Mac, to get rid of Jazzy.
Can I speak on that really quick? I am, I do have like my own opinions and stuff. Similar to like what Vicky had said, I'm not coming in here like set on a specific direction, but a lot of what Nick is saying, I have to say I agree with, only because like one of my questions specifically for Pete was going to be, can you please tell me one major thing that you did that wasn't piggybacking off of Nick and Mac? And I remember I did watch that the tribal that, where Nick went out and y'all went to fire and stuff like that, or Mac went out and y'all went to fire. And I saw Pete like trying to talk Gianna into like voting out Nick. Gianna did make up her own mind. She did choose to vote out Mac instead. And so she did have a mind of her own. She was playing her own game. And it does kind of feel like Pete was riding some coattails. That's all. Sorry. I was not trying to interrupt.
And I will never discredit Pete's social game and like the connections that he made. I will never discredit his physical game. What I will always discredit is strategic game, because his strategic game was my game, his strategic game was Mac's game, and his strategic game was Vicky's game. And that's all it was.
All right, so we're gonna briefly talk about Gianna's best moves because I know it was basically interchanged with each other. Is there anyone else want to piggyback off Gianna's best moves in the game?
Her
Jazzy?
best move sitting right here.
Can I start and then Jazzy, you can go after?
Yeah, of course.
Because I'm almost at the house. I think Gianna, I don't think either of them are really strategic masterminds. I don't think, like, there were very few and far between in this cast that were strategic masterminds. We all had our mistakes in this game. Like, nobody played a perfect game. What I will say is Gianna was shit on the majority of this merge. She was never told votes. She was always left out of things. And from final 7 until probably final 3, she was always in the loop. There was no vote between 7 and 3 where she did not know what was happening. At 7, she got rid of Vicky. At 6, she got rid of Jazzy. At 5, she got to make the decision to get rid of Travis. At 4, she was the one that made the decision to get rid of Matt. The only vote from 7 to 3 that she did not decide was mine, me going home. And I think those are incredibly more important than 12 to 8. I'm sorry, anybody who plays 12 to 8, but when you're talking about the end game of this game, you're talking about people who you are going to sit next to. And I think the way Gianna set herself up, she has the best chance to win now.
Yeah, I will agree with that. I think she definitely did really well in the end game. And I think that's really where her strength lies, is how she positions herself in the end game, becoming in the loop and making those connections. Because I know that was one thing we really weren't connected until maybe the final 7 vote was like when we finally got together and really was like, okay, let's work together. Matt can go.
One question I really want, I want Gigi to answer. I don't know if this will be my question for her or not, but if she had won final 3, what would she do? Strategically, it would be better to take Pete to the end, but there were conversations between the two of us where she was like, I don't like certain things that Pete has done and I don't want Pete at the end. But I don't think Gigi would win against me or Nick at that time. So I do want to ask her that.
I do want to asterisk that though, with if she says me, it won't be due to gameplay. It will be due to the fact that me, Travis, and Gianna have had multiple conversations about what inclusivity looks like in these games and what having a black winner at the end looks like for us. Somebody who looks like us, somebody who speaks like us, somebody who acts like us, somebody who has been through similar life experiences as us. And so I think it would have a lot less to do with who she thought she could be and a lot more to do with who she feels deserves to be there based on the struggles that we have to go through in these orgs. Because like I said in that chat, 95% of the winners that have played games that I have played are either white or men. And we are both neither of those things. And that was something that was very important to both of us, especially in the final 3. So if she says Mac, or not Mac, if she says Pete, I like duh, because that's her best chance. But if she says me, I'm 99.9% sure it will be for that reason and not because she ever thought she had a chance to beat me.
All right. So before I move to the last topic of a conversation, does anyone else have anything they like to add on about both Pete or Gianna's game when it comes to best moves?
I just want to say that I really thank you, especially Mac and Nick, to share to us what these two are really working on. But it will just be, again, I am still deciding. This will only be like a 20% of my decision. 80% is for them to, sell me their story. If they will own their own game and if they really have been aware of what they were playing at, because this is all our perspective. We stun them because of what we know that they did, but then what if they really didn't know that they did these things? That's the only thing that I really am concerned of. Gianna at this moment has a very good points of like doing things, but then does she own these things? Is she aware she did these things? That's really my question as of the moment. Same thing with Pete right now. So like 80% it will still be of what they will deliver or they will tell their story at the final tribal. But again, thank you for Nick and Mac.
All
I
right.
think one of the. Oh, I'm so sorry. Who did I cut off?
Maybe
Did I cut off Sean?
Yeah, you're good. Go ahead.
I think a really important thing is them being able to own up to what they have done in this game and being able to articulate that properly. And I think that's where a lot of the people on this jury are, is just seeing who can tell their story to us the best. Personally, that's not how I feel, but I do understand why people feel that way.
Okay, so we're gonna transition to the last topic of conversation. Their game as a whole. How was it like, Gianna and Pete made it to the end? How did they do that? And how, the benefits of making it to the end? Let's just talk about their game as a whole.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. My son just woke up and I've got to get him taken care of. I'm not trying to leave early, but I got to go take care of my baby. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
but I will see everybody at finale. I'm sorry again, but I adore all of you and I will see y'all soon.
You're amazing,
Hey,
Missy.
Missy.
Hi, Missy.
Bye.
Yeah, let's talk about their game as a whole. And anyone can start. Vicky.
I'm sorry, I didn't know. Okay, hi. I think I've made these points already, and I think throughout this whole conversation, we've been not repeating, but stating the same points, because as a whole, their game, for me at least, is very simple. Both of them came as underdogs. Both of them, nobody really. Yeah, Pete was a threat, but Pete was more of a threat, like as an outside perspective, more than an in-game perspective. Like a lot of people came into this game not really having good relationships with Pete, and Pete was very more vocal about what he liked and disliked with people, and that made him a bigger threat. Meanwhile, Gianna, Gianna was very quiet, which also succumbed to many people not looking at her as if she had a great game. As somebody that has had her game like abysmally like overlooked and nobody took her seriously, I understand that feeling a lot. Again, like I'm not to anybody, like I still have not made up my mind yet. I want to hear them out and I want them to own up to what they said, just like like Esteban said. But both of their games very much boil down to they've had very similar games. They both put themselves in great positions. They both had a strong social games. One imploded on himself and the other was able to ride out the waves of harshness and not be overlooked, or not be overlooked, but was able to keep it concealed and have a better social game with everybody. And everybody left everybody left knowing Gianna was a kind and wonderful, amazing person. And then there's some people that left thinking that Pete is not a nice person. So their game really will boil down to who had the better social game, who had the better jury management, and who can say none of their games really were hard plays, because as Nick and Mac has stated, Pete really rode off the backs of a lot of the people that he was working with. And even though he made the moves and he did all these things, it wasn't because he did it himself. It was because other people were backing him up and he was comfortable with making those moves. Meanwhile, Gianna really had to fight her way into being able to make those moves because nobody considered her in absolutely anything. It will all boil down to social games. Both of their social games were strong. They did what they had to do. Pete won the competitions that he had to win, and Gianna talked to the people that she had to talk to when she had to talk to them. And Pete left a lot of bitter taste in everybody's mouth, and Gianna is a sweetheart that everybody is going to underestimate her game from. I just want to know, not even if, how to word this, I just want to know why they feel like they deserve to be up there, because they're up there. They did the moves that they had to do. They talked to the people, they played the game, they're final two, and all of us are in jury. But why? What made their game? How did they strategically put themselves? And as Esteban has been saying, do they know that they strategically put themselves in that situation, or was it a coin flip that decided their fate? Yeah, both of them have very similar games. This is going to be a tough one, at least for me, because even though I was never hurt by Pete, I was hurt by Gianna. And many people were hurt by Pete and weren't hurt by Gianna. So for me, it's going to be difficult because I want to know, do they know how good of a game they played? Do they know what they did? Or is it all just social based and they just did what they had to do to survive?
Sorry, I was looking for my mute button. Mac?
I mean, I think Vicky sums it up pretty well. Like, coming into this and leaving this, my mind is still not decided because we have our perceptions of the game, but we need to hear it from themselves. And we need them to own up to the game, to tell us, like, no one has a perfect game. No one in the jury, no one that is left standing, because they weren't like zero. They both got votes and they weren't a part of votes at times, and that's okay because we're human beings, we're not robots, you know? How I want to hear the journey in the story, and I want to see that spark, and I want to see them fight for this win because I want to vote for the person who I feel like deserves the crown of Distortion Season 3, some Sunny Camp Skies. SCS. Camp Sunny Skies, sorry. CSS. SS, sorry, gotta be American. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm a little bummed down I couldn't be there, but you know, this isn't about me. And I'm excited to see how these two pitch why they should win. You're on mute.
Sorry, I was lagging. Anyways, before we end this, Jazzy, Esteban, do you guys have any last minute things you'd like to say regarding the games as a whole?
Like Mac and Vicky said, I'm gonna echo what they said. My vote's very much up in the air. I am definitely not decided. I'm excited to hear them out and see where it goes with this finale. Best of luck to both Pete and Gianna, and no matter what, I'm happy to be part of this jury.
All right. With that being said, that is our jury roundtable, everyone. Thank you guys for tuning in. Seb, thank you for letting me host your awesome org. Shout out to y'all. And yeah.
Okay, yeah. Give me a sec. I'm lost for words. For everyone here, Mac, Esteban, Vicky, Jazzy, and the rest of the jurors that'll be watching this, the jurors that were here and had to leave, I truly thank you for a great. Yeah, you can leave, Sean. I want to thank you for a really great season. You know, this had there's a little bit of bumpy road during this, but I cannot ask for a better, Camp Sunny Skies cast. You guys were amazing. You guys really brought the gameplay this season. I'm really excited. And yeah, so let me stop streaming and then I'll explain how